there's two special people here in the room today that I wanted to tell you about. Is my wife Cindy Byers and my aunt Margaret Parisi, which is my mother's sister. Thank you all for coming. It's really important to us, and it's a wow, parking lot's full. And so what I want to do is, I'm not the one that's going to do the talking tonight. I just want to basically say what the agenda is, and I want to really stick by the agenda because you people came out on a Friday night. This is very special to us that you came out here tonight, and a group like this has a lot of power, and if we can continue to have these meetings and get educated and learn what's going on in our city, we can make positive change. And so it's 7:15. We've scheduled the meeting just to last an hour. And the bathrooms, if anybody has to use the bathrooms, are right out this door on the right. There's a men's room and there's a ladies' room. We are going to have 3 speakers tonight. It's going to be Richard Zacarro, Ron Matta, and Kate Archard. We're going to go pretty quick. And we're going to hold your questions, please, till at the end. And we have a lot of people here tonight, and we want to, I know a lot of you have a lot of questions to ask. We'd like to hold your questions to 1 question a person, only because, everybody has other commitments, and we don't want to abuse our time with you people. It's very special that you're out here tonight. And at the end of the meeting, we have another room in the front, which is Cindy's Kitchen, where we do our TV shows, food shows. And if we have hired a cameraman here tonight, and you are willing or welcome to send a message. We would like to keep it between 15 and 30 seconds. We're going to package them up and send them to the mayor's office and hear directly from the residents of Brockton. But we want to keep that, again, between 15 and 30 seconds. And so at the end of the meeting, whoever wants to do that, we'll just go through this room and bear right. And you're welcome to get on camera. And if you don't, that's fine too. But again, thank you again for coming to Cindy's Kitchen. A little bit about me and my wife. We're born and raised in Brockton, and we're lucky enough to have a business here. We employ 100 people, and we make a product that's shipped all over the country. And everybody asks me, what do we do? The main thing we do is we change people's lives. We have 100 people working for us, and most of them were unemployed until we started our company, and they worked very hard to develop this company into a national company, and we just want to give back a little bit to the community, so we're engaged in our community. Thank you. Run Matta.
Just like to thank you very much for coming tonight. I'd like to thank Ed and Cindy's Kitchen for having us here so we can, our community can come together, and we really appreciate your time. I'd like to set some realistic goals for myself and for our community. As a group, we've come together tonight, and I think we can set some reliable goals that will positively influence the future of our city. Our first goal is to organize at City Hall when the City Council makes a vote to raise our taxes. If you could bring your friends and family down to this meeting, the more people we have, and the more support we get, and the stronger our voice will be. And we'll stop them from raising our taxes. So I'm glad you signed up for our email and our phone. If you haven't, please do. Our second goal is for our group is to call for our city councilors to seek an independent law firm with no ties or interest to the city of Brockton to interpret the Aquaria contract that is costing the city over about $6 million a year, and we get nothing in return. So I'd like to let's show up together at City Hall the future for our city and our community. According to a recent Enterprise article, 46% of the homes in the city are underwater. They owe more than what their houses are worth. And they want us to pay more taxes. I don't believe we can. I don't believe it's fair. More taxes are not, especially considering the city has $23 million in free cash in the bank. Again, like as Mr. Byers said, let you keep the questions down to one per person. And if you do want to make a comment on film, you can after the meeting. And now Mr. Zacarro will give you some information on the facts of city's finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, for the introduction, and you people behind me and my side part of my back. I would first like to recognize the dignitaries that are here. We have Councilor Chris McMillan, Ward 7, also recently announced candidate for mayor. We have Councilor Tom Monahan and his wife,
That'll never happen.
We have Steve Foote, Democratic Chairman, City of Brockton. We have Bill Black, Democratic Chair, Ward 7. As he likes to call it out, we have Plymouth County Commissioner, Sandra Wright. I'd be very remiss if I did not mention my lovely wife, Dina, in the back room. And now that Catherine is 88 years old, bless me to come around that I never might look like her. My Aunt Tony Johnson, my son Nicholas Zacarro, his fiancée Stacy, and one of the newest additions, Dante Ritchie. Okay, well, I'd like to start off by saying thanks to Ed and Cindy Byers for inviting us here tonight. Pardon, I don't have a microphone, but I'll speak as loud as I can. And I would like, most of all, to thank you people for attending here tonight. And I want to recognize our city officials serving as the public in these very difficult times. They should be commended for that. It's not an easy job today at all. However, it is important to make the right decisions on our tax dollars. About a year ago, at the mayor's inauguration, if you recall, there was a small group of protesters, as a matter of fact, it's up on that monitor, who appealed the last tax rate. They made the front page news of the Brockton Enterprise. Now, it's my understanding that the last council meeting in December, they've already voted on a tax increase, but they're going to vote to set the rates between the commercial and residential rates. So, if everyone in this room invites 5 of your closest friends or family relatives, go down to City Hall the night of that meeting. The last meeting of the month is December 21st, but we have to confirm with the city clerk's office when that meeting will be. That would be 250 people down there. Now, I'm going to give you an example of the effect of masses attending a meeting. A couple of months ago, there was a debate on the council in the council chambers where the unions, the council wanted the unions to join the GIC program that would save $6 million a year for the city. The unions did not want to be in that deal. They thought their collective bargaining rights were being infringed upon. They showed up in force, 250 people. Guess what happened? The council unanimously voted against it. So that's the effect we can have if we go to this meeting on December 21st, where it is. But I'll take my hats off to the council and the unions. They said that the unions would have a concession, which they did, and they get credit for that. And the unions get credit for that. They're going to save the city $28 million for a compromise. There's an adage, an old saying that goes, you can't fight City Hall. Well, guess what? We can, we will, and we will prevail. Now I'm going to dig with some facts that I
ELT.
Yeah, the movement should be decided by the movement is Brocktonians For Limited Taxation, similar to Citizens For Limited Taxation, which is a statewide movement to keep taxes down. They were the group that was responsible for Proposition 2.5. Now, some important points worth mentioning in facts. Brockton has the 13th highest commercial tax rate in the entire state, being 29% for every $1,000 in assessed property value, and a residential tax rate of 16.14%, which is also above the state median of 13.91%. This is one of the reasons that businesses choose not to locate here. Now, I'm a host of An Outside View. I don't know if anyone ever saw that show. But when we had the state representatives debate for the 11th district in Plymouth County, Claire Cronin, who eventually won that race, pointed out that since 2007 to date, that the city taxes doubled over that time period. Just about double, not quite. They went from $9 per thousand to $16 per thousand. Now, just to give you an idea, inflation, or CPI, Consumer Price Index, rises every year about 2.5% to 3%. So if you do the math over 5 years, CPI has increased by 10 to 15%, when our taxes have doubled over the same time period. I also interviewed Chip Faulkner, who is Deputy Associate Director of Citizens for Limited Taxation. A lot of you may have heard of Barbara Anderson. Well, he's her top watchdog. And he came on my show, An Outside View, and we went over a chart. And this chart, it may be in the back of the room, it may not be, but it's a chart that was compiled by the Metro South Chamber of Commerce. And I commented on that show. There are 18 surrounding communities to Brockton, 18. The average residential tax rate of those 18 communities was $13 per thousand, 13. The average commercial rate was $18 per thousand. Again, Brockton's current residential tax rate is $16.14 per thousand, and their commercial rate is $29.96 per thousand. And from my understanding, again, when council's here, we can ask questions in the end. They're going up or already voted for a tax increase again. Now, what does that mean translated in dollars? A lot of you may have seen the Brockton Enterprise article last Sunday that highlighted our movement right here. Taxpayers plan revolt, Brockton Group vows to fight property tax increases. The Enterprise did their research, Alex Bloom, and came up with similar communities as Brockton. He had 4 communities. So a homeowner with a property value assessed at $250,000 in Brockton pays $4,035 a year in property taxes, compared to the same property assessed value in Fall River that pays $2,745, $3,118 in Taunton, $3,438 in Quincy, and $3,440 in New Bedford. There's another handout that shows that their tax rate versus Brockton's tax rate. I'll just go over it real quickly. Massachusetts residential tax rates, Fall River, $10.98 per thousand. Taunton, $12.47 per thousand. Quincy, $13.75 per thousand. New Bedford, $13.76 per thousand. Brockton, $16.14. Similar comparison, our commercial rates, Fall River, $23.54. Taunton, $27.62. New Bedford, $28.44. Quincy, $28.66. And Brockton, $29.96, which may go up again. It depends how our council splits it between residential and commercial tax increases. That's already part of their budget for 2013. to make up for a $5 million shortfall in the budget. Now, another interesting statistic. Oh, by the way, on average, I'll just do the math. On average, if you own a home in Brockton compared to those 4 other cities, and it's assessed at $250,000, you're paying an average of $1,000 more to live in this city than those other 4 comparable cities. Okay, now, another statistic, we have the 13th highest commercial tax rate, as I stated. However, Brockton recently slipped to the 13th poorest city in income out of 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and yet they're going up on another tax increase. Now ask yourself, why are Brockton's commercial and residential tax rates much higher than other comparable cities? The answer is that the other cities do not ask their taxpayers to fund losing investments such as the Brockton Rocks baseball stadium and the diesel plant that are both losing money every single year and costing the taxpayers more than $6 million a year to keep running. I say it's about time that our city cut these losses and give us a tax brace for once. The responsibility of public officials is to serve and protect the people. The city should not be investing in baseball stadiums or any other speculative investment with the taxpayers' money. Let's leave that to the venture capitalists to take that kind of risk. And those deals, 1 out of 10. That's 1 out of 10 deals succeed. 1 out of 10. Each year, the city of Brockton has a surplus cash balance that is rolled over into the next fiscal year's budget, as opposed to a zero spend down budget. Yet they continue to increase our taxes to balance the budget every year to pay for their shortfalls on bad investments. The city just recently saved $28 million by negotiating with the city unions to adopt a health insurance program will lower the health care costs for the city. Don't you think that these savings should be passed on to the taxpayers of the city that have been footing the bill year in and year out? The city, and this is a fact, the city does not have to increase our taxes every year, and they can also lower the assessed values of our properties to accurately reflect the current market values of these troubled economic times. I'm going to give you a couple examples. In 2005, they assessed our property values at the height of the real estate market. 2011 came around when there was a downturn in the market. The market was down anywhere between 33 to 50% in property values. They did, I give them credit, they did lower our assessed values by 11%. But the CFO convinced them to increase the tax rate by 11%. That was a wash. You did not get a tax break then.
Wow.
Okay. Now, some people here are residents of Fairway Oaks. I want to ask the councilors, how can your assessed values go up in a down real estate market? You purchase a condo for $135,000. It's down below $100,000 now, and your assessment went up last year. I don't understand that.
How does that
I don't
work?
understand that. We already, the headlines of the paper yesterday, we already have 46% of the houses in Brockton with their mortgage underwater, and another tax increase will add to that number. People will be losing their homes.
They're robbing us.
The city has not had any layoffs, has not cut back on overtime, and has 244 employees making more than $100,000 a year, compared to the average Brockton resident whose combined family income is only $46,000. Hard to believe, isn't it? One of the worst global recessions that we ever experienced. Not in Brockton, if you work for the city. The city council then votes 9-1 not to have any minimum qualifications for department heads. How would you like to have brain surgery, you walk into your doctor, what minimum qualifications do you have, sir? Well, I don't have to, we'll see you later. The city has more than 600 liens on the average homeowner's properties due to faulty water meters that are currently being disputed, but yet they allow Stonehill College time and time again to get away with only paying a portion of their sewer bills and the Brockton Rocks who still owe close to $100,000 in outstanding past water bills. You see the city putting a lien on the stadium? No, they just give them $550,000 every year in hotel tax. It was earmarked to improve our downtown to attract more business. How would you like to have the city pay for your water bills? Who here would like to have the city? Now ask what we can do about all of this.
I know, if we all didn't
The
pay
simple
our bills, how
answer-
would they like it?
Is we can take action and not vote for any city official who votes to increase our taxes any more than they already have. We can also call for a Proposition 2.5 underride for a change as opposed to an override.
Yeah.
Right now, the council every year, they can go up 1.8% on your tax levy, which is the value of all the taxes in the city. To go up the full 2.5%, they need an override. Every time that override is hit in the city, it was resoundingly voted down. How about for once, we have an underride in the city at 2.5, calling for any surplus cash balances at the end of any fiscal year to be refunded back to the hard-working taxpayers of our city. You realize this. You can file for an abatement if you feel your property assessments are higher than what you believe they are. It goes through the city. A lot of people have, some people won, some people lost. Another option, what you can do, is if you're denied by the city, you can go to the state appellate tax court and appeal to them. And Commissioner Wright, in the back room, now I found this out when I was a Plymouth County Charter Commissioner. Every one of us pay a $2.50 tax to the county every year. You are a taxpayer in the county, therefore you can appeal to the county commissioners to get a abatement as well. A lot of people don't know. The Okay, so what is the answer? Well, let me start by saying this. The answer is not a power plant in our city, but sound fiscal management representing the taxpayers of our city and not the special interest groups in our city. Now, the city CFO just informed the council that he's not going to approve $300,000 in funds, in legal funds, to fight the power plant. But yet he approves millions of dollars to fund losing entities like the D-Cell plant that's producing 3 million gallons a day that we're not using, and funding the rocks that are losing, they can't even pay for their water bills.
Nice.
Okay, so please join our efforts by becoming a Brocktonian for Limited Taxation and come to our rally at City Hall whenever the meeting is. I'm assuming it's going to be December 21st, but you'll see the Enterprise posted when that formula is going to go into effect. They've already gone up on the tax rate for 2013, but it's a question of are they going to increase commercial or residential rates? That's the big question.
Can I interject for a second?
I'm almost done.
Well, you're just saying something that, it's not, it's whatever it is, if you want to lower tax on the residential side, then that means the commercial has to go up.
I understand that.
But, okay, I'm saying.
You're going to set the tax rate.
Why? Why can't they both go down?
Residential
They
and
can't both
commercial.
go down.
Why?
Because it has to be, because the budget has already been passed back in June. So you have a budget of, whatever it is, 350 million a year. Then it has to be paid for, and it either gets paid for, it has to be split between residential and commercial. You can't just say, the residents, okay, if you wanted to do it that way, then they give you a different formula how it's done. But you could have, if you wanted to say, like Bridgewater splits theirs, it's like $18 for commercial, $18 for residential. They split the cost of the budget. In Brockton, the commercial pays the bulk of the budget, and the residential pays the least amount of the budget. If you wanted to say, okay, let's split it between the commercial and the residential, then our residential rate from last year would probably be like $18 per thousand, and the commercial will go down. So you can't go up, you can't just go down on commercial, go down on residential, because you can't pay for the budget that way.
Maybe we need a new council that can, maybe we need a new council that's better.
We need a new council.
Reduce the budget.
You're not working for the people, you're working for yourself.
Now, I can't take credit for this line. The other night I was watching this great movie, and the guy said to the movie, he said, and remember that if you don't take a stand for something, you just may fall for anything. What a classic line that is, okay? They say that we're doing this for a personal agenda, who's running for what in the city, and we are doing it for a personal agenda. To finally give the hard-working taxpayers of our city a well-deserved, long overdue break from high taxes. That's our agenda. You don't grow a city's infrastructure by increasing taxes. You grow it by lowering taxes and get more industry and people to move into your city and not move out. That's how you increase your tax base, by creating more jobs to stimulate the local economy. What we need is strong, effective leadership to get our city back on its feet. Thank you all for coming here very much tonight. We'll see you at the December council meeting.
23 million in free cash.
I'll leave that to some of the councilors.
Well, no, you haven't even defined. It's part of the package.
Hey, Dick,
It's in the package. It
some of
shows,
the people don't know you. Tell them what your financial background is.
Well, I've started off running a $5 billion pension fund under Robert Q. Crane, the longest-standing state treasurer in the history of Massachusetts. He was treasurer for 26 years. Then I moved into the investment business. I worked for a global investment firm. Then I was a pension fund consultant for 15 years with 3 different investment firms. And I had the pleasure, one of my clients was the city of Brockton Pension Fund. That's, the city owes them about $25 million on funded liabilities, but that's not only the city, and I'll say that, that's right across the country. There's $1 trillion in funded liabilities.
So why aren't you the mayor?
I have enough gray hair as this.
I got a question. When the state took the city over and it went into receivership, it didn't take them long to go from the red to the black.
Right, well, once again, the state would.
So obviously there's got to be a management problem somewhere in the city.
The state would invest in baseball stadiums. Leave that to the Boston Red Sox. That's a tough business. But no, my only role now, I have no intention of running for office. My only role is, I was born and raised in Brockton. I was born in 1952. I'm still here. I love the city. I'm sure the councilors do, and everyone else. And we all want to work with the councilors. We want to make it a better place to live. And we want to bring the city back to where it was when I grew up and remembered it. That's my mission here. And hopefully you agree with me. Hopefully you join
Well, a crowded room surrounded by pizza. I feel like I'm at the Zoino family Christmas party. Thank you all for being here. Like you, I'm a homeowner. I don't understand a lot of this budget, spend down budget, financial plan, but I've been learning that the city has quite a bit of money socked away in the bank, millions in fact. And when we ask about it, we hear things like, that's not really there, or that's not what you think it is. We actually had the city council bring in KPMG, the financial auditing firm, and they danced around with terms like assigned and unassigned funds. All I know is just there's money there, and every year they create a budget in June, but were we told that part of creating a budget meant they voted up the taxes? Was that on the agenda anywhere? So we could show up and say, wait a minute, in order to make that budget, you're gonna go up on our taxes. No, back it up a little bit, bring your budget down, just like when we have money in our checking book, we can only spend what's in our checkbook. We don't then go out and get more money so we can spend more money. We are the ones left in this city paying for our bills and paying for our taxes. It's on our backs to continue to fund these bad investments. So what I'm saying is, we've given you some information. There's a difference between a budget and a financial statement, I learned. The budget is what goes on year to year. The financial statement is what's socked away in the bank, like when some of us might have 401ks or other things. No, we don't touch that when we do our grocery shopping, but that's still there. That's socked away. And the chief financial officer has done a wonderful job putting away money, but he continuously thinks that in order to go year by year, he's got to get it off of our backs. And this is the year we should say no. Relook at the budget, think about bad investments, think about the people that owe us money, and stop jacking us every year. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you all for coming.
I understand what you're saying about divvying up the taxes between residential and commercial. But, so basically my understanding is you guys, well, the councilmen, they get to order you order the size of the pizza and then we get to divvy it up. What if we're just not that hungry and we want like a smaller pizza? How does that
We got 15 minutes left, because I wanna stay on target here, because a lot of people have to go, but why don't we go around and just please, anybody wants to ask anybody up here a question, just keep it to one question, and then after 15 minutes, anybody wants to send a message to the city hall, videotape any other room.
What you mentioned earlier. On the Aquarium contract, we are having, I put a letter in with Councilman Miller, Councilman Brophy, to ask the city solicitor to hire an outside firm to look at the Aquarium contract to see if we can get out of it. So that's already been done. They'll see if there's any way around it or what have you. So, I mean, we'll try to see what we can do. There might be a way out of it. There's also some part of it where they have to be actively trying to sell the water. And I think Council Brophy brought up last year that to them, and they gave it a song and a dance, so we're still waiting for that.
You gotta commend Mr. Monahan for doing that, you have to commend him, but the mayor's been in office for 2 terms, and she hasn't done it. You think of somebody be doing it at the contract.
Where is the mayor tonight? Why is he not here?
Type of contract like that.
Listening to us.
The other one, actually, the Stonehill contract was actually looked at by an outside firm. And Council Petty is gonna be bringing them as file the resolve, actually I'm meeting with him tonight. He's gonna be filing a resolve to bring them in, what's the name of that, group that did it? Anyway, they did it, and they're gonna wanna bring them in to explain what they found, and if there's any way. And we're also probably gonna be meeting with Kate and Todd Petty and myself to look at actually going to Stonehill and making them somehow or another, trying to do what is
The right
morally
thing,
right.
which is not take sewer from Brocktonians.
Let's
That's
go around
because
and
they're
ask,
on the
let some
hot
other
seat
people
now.
ask some
That's why
questions
they're
now.
doing something.
Keep, go ahead, and then you go next, go ahead.
Almost in 2 phases. You're talking about dropping personal value, personal property, and commercial value. If you drop the price on the property value for personal, commercial goes up.
Right.
And seesaws. Why not take those two and both drop them down like 10% or whatever figure you come up with, instead of seesawing it? So therefore, the property value of people in Brockton, the personal one, would pay less, and the people at the commercial end would be paying less. Therefore, make it more attractive for people to buy homes in Brockton, more attractive for industry to come into Brockton.
Exactly.
Right, see, when the budget, this whole thing is, when the budget is brought to us in June.
It's not their money though, they're toying with our money. If it came out of their pocket, they'd think differently.
Well, it comes out. The city has to be run. There's costs that go up every year on everything. They all go up each year. Our own homes, everything goes up. So they figure
Yeah, like
out
their
homes.
salary.
Salary.
I said our home, each year, don't your bills go up, things go up. The same. Each year, the cost of living goes up. Right.
Doesn't have to.
Right. That's right.
Maybe the
But
politicians should get a second job and stop taking more money from the city.
For the people who leave office.
But we're not trying to take more, believe me, I gotta pay taxes too, so we don't wanna go up on taxes.
Oh, what are you doing now?
In all fairness to Tommy Monahan, the CFO is the one that you have to talk to. He sets the program. He doesn't have to go up on the commercial or the residential tax rate. He
So
elects
get rid
to.
of him.
And now I asked Tommy, if he did not go up on the residential and commercial tax rate, would the city still run? Would the city, last year they had $19 million of cash in the bank. 19 million, I want you, 19 million left over, so if you take out the tax increase, instead of 19 million, they would have 14 million. None of the services would even, but on fairness to Monahan and fairness to the other counselor here, he set, the cards are set out by Condon. and they tell them, Condon doesn't need to go
Yeah,
up
but
on the
Ed,
taxes.
who works for who? Does Condon work for the council, or does the council
Exactly.
work for Condon?
Exactly.
He works for the mayor.
First of all,
You guys are supposed to be-
what vested interest does Condon
You
have
can't
in
do
the city?
anything
He
without
doesn't even live in
council
this
approval,
city.
is that right?
He's not even a taxpayer in
You
this
can't do
city.
anything without council
He gets his
approval, right?
paycheck from the city, but he doesn't even live in this city.
I have a question.
Go ahead, this lady.
I want to know why the city employees make so much money when normal people do not. Why they don't have a cap on them or reduce their salary like normal people have to work.
Right on. Right on.
It's a great, great comment, and I think where it's gotta start is organized. You know, when I started Stop the Power, they said that we could not stop this power plant. It was in, and it's 5 years later. They're further behind than they were when they first started. We're this close from stopping it. So if you people continue to organize, continue to ask questions, no one's been showing up. Condon, all fairness is, Condon speaks a different language than the council. The council really doesn't understand what he's doing.
But you're not answering my
I
question.
can answer your question, ma'am.
I wanted.
Most of those salaries are public safety salaries, and they're negotiated union contracts with the council and the mayor's administration. However,
City clerk?
No, the council does nothing with salary.
City clerk?
well, the unions negotiate, with the mayor's office, I should say the mayor's office and the CFO, I take that back, the CFO and the mayor negotiates the union contracts. However, to answer your question, the state retirement board and legislature, they are capping pensions now, the maximum pension
I'm not
is
talking
90.
about pension. I'm talking about their pay,
Well, you
their
have
salary.
to call the
But
mayor.
what I'm asking you is, why do they make such large amounts? We're talking clerks. They're not, they don't have to,
Overtime in their contracts.
they're not surgeons. They're not performing
But more
surgery.
importantly that, what hurt this city was when they passed the residency requirement, okay? So before you had to live in the city, now, except for department heads, some department heads, other department heads like the CFO has a waiver, so he lives in Bridgewater like someone pointed out in the back. He doesn't pay any taxes in Brockton, but he's telling the council to go up on our taxes. How ironic is that?
Dick, someone else says that.
But, real quickly, the residency requirement, after 7 years, they can move out of the city. And I guarantee you, if you look at a lot of those employees that are paid by the Brockton residents' taxpayer money, they don't even live in our city.
I know.
All the teachers. Why are they?
None of the teachers live here either.
Yes, we
They
have
don't.
a superintendent who never had to move to the city, pay taxes.
Yeah.
We have a police chief that didn't have to. A parks
the park
department head.
department,
We have a
yeah.
new principal at the high school who lives in East Bridgewater. So these people get high salaries. The people of the city voted on a residency law, yet this council and the mayor don't even recognize it.
That's right.
They should live in the city. They should not, don't manipulate it, live in the city, pay taxes in the city.
Does anybody else have any questions? Go ahead.
I have a question. Yes or no, the city councilors represent the people of the city of Brockton, correct? Well, if that's the case, why did you vote to raise our taxes?
Yeah, exactly. All of you did.
Condon. The true answer is Condon told them. You see, Mr. Mohan, he's a very close friend of mine, and we have a conversation every day, but when it comes to politics, we differ a lot. Condon tells them that they have to go up on the taxes. What he said tonight is that his job is only the commercial and the residential rate. But what about just not raising it? What about saying that the people of Brockton have suffered enough for a year? And you know what? If they didn't raise it, Condon for the last 10, 15 years doesn't need that money. So he doesn't have 19 million left over, he has $14 million left over. That's what's unfair.
That is.
And you know, and they need as a council to question what Condon's doing. Condon runs the city up and down.
What they need to do is get rid of
And
them.
you people need to organize, we need to work together. As one person, we can't change the city. As a group, that we can change the city.
Exactly. How do we get rid of
Can't hear anybody up there asking questions.
Now they wanna raise our taxes.
That's why we need you at City Hall.
6 months ago, they made this move that they're gonna raise our taxes.
The country been going down the tube for 4 years.
Well, we need you to say that at City Hall. We need to show up at City Hall and voice your concern when they vote on it. Go ahead.
Since we're subsidizing the Shaw Center and the Brockton Rocks, do the general public have access to those books? Can we look at those books and see what they... We do.
We own the
that
Rock Stadium, and we own the Shaw Center.
But the Rocks have a private corporation in there that's making money. In other words, we're laying out the expense and they're making the dough.
Yes, you can.
Well, no, but.
Why don't they sell it, Tommy? Sell it.
Where can we see the, where can
Get
we see
rid of
it?
it.
They can, the Rocks have already said this year that they will open their books whenever they want to look at it.
Mr. Foote, it's
So if I
Condon's
wanted to go down
office.
to the stadium tomorrow, they'd open their books?
It's Condon's office. He architects the deal, he continues to do the deal. And nobody understands it.
I can guarantee you, if I gotta look at those books, I'd understand.
Do it.
But we don't belong to be, you know, it's a great thing, but we don't belong in the baseball business. We belong in a service.
I wanna know, what my question on that is, I wanna know how much city money is being used to subsidize probably the 10 or 12 guys over there that draw a living and a salary off
They
the
don't
Brockton
we don't
Rock.
pay the Rocks. We don't pay their salary. All we're doing is.
I know, but we're enabling them by our subsidizing the stadium and the conference center. We're enabling them to do business without any risk. That's my
Without,
point.
listen, the city of Brockton was funding me, I would even open up every day. You know, they're diverting
Why should
funds.
you shell out your own money? Why can't they?
They're diverting funds. If the city of Brockton stopped diverting funds, it would just close down. It's not a self-sustaining business.
Let me say
It needs
this,
to-
last year, the city of Brockton gave the 21st Century Park $468,000 to pay back Brockton a loan to the 21st Century Park.
Not to mention,
Now, when they started this new deal with the baseball team, they cut the rent from $275 to $125. Right now, they agreed to pay for the electricity. They haven't got money from the water. They haven't got money from the parking, and I believe they owe the fire and police money.
and the team
The
makes,
city is the one that subsidizes.
and the team makes all the money from the ticket sales, the beer sales, the hot dogs, whatever. So we don't get any of that.
It's a losing proposition. And how they got to do that is because nobody put them in check what they're doing. Nobody understands what he's doing, and that's why she asked a good point, how, you know, we need to get organized, we need to stay on top of, this is your city, this is our city, you need to know what's going on in the city.
But is that legal what they're doing?
Well,
Taking our money?
I
Really?
question that.
Don't dwell on that.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I got another question. I'll send it to the councilor, right? I can't sell my house for its assessed value.
I guess I'm right.
Across the street, oh, wait a minute, across the street, they dropped the lot prices by $100,000, and he still can't sell the lots. Up until the tax rate in Brockton went off the wall, you had a nice middle class, upper middle class coming into the city, and he got them prices what they wanted, and they built some nice homes. As soon as the tax rate went up, it all stopped.
There's a lot of pain in it.
So what you've done is you've driven the middle class and upper middle class and the working people out of the city. Because they're not coming into Brockton, Tommy, and paying that tax rate when they can go down to Freetown or a Sonnet or Lakeville.
Yep.
And live in a house for the same price. And if you want to start cutting back, you got to go into the departments and manage them. You have to have somebody in the center to manage the city. There's no management. All them departments are operating at full levels. The water and sewer department has more men in it right now than it's had for the last 20 years. I know, I was the superintendent. Right? You got Dave Norton in, he'll tell you, grabbing over $100,000 doing nothing down at the sewer treatment plant with a city vehicle living down in Marion. And you got people in Brockton that can't afford to own their own houses.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Because we want.
Well, I want an answer on that. Don't blow me off on that, Ed.
Well, I don't want you to get mad at him because.
I'm not getting mad at him, but it's very frustrating
I know.
when you see your hometown go down the tubes on account of some
What
issues.
we really want to do is take a message back that he needs to question what Condon's being.
Wait, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you're right about Dave Norton. It was a fabricated job by Jack Units to be a contract administrator.
Right.
Making $108,000 a year.
Right.
He's doing nothing but bullying the BLA water, which I.
First of all, it gets so crazy.
You were down there.
Well, wait a minute. That's the guy. This is how crazy the city
He
is.
does not have a city vehicle.
Right.
That's true. But he does make $108,000.
We had a city vehicle.
He used it back when he was working for the city. I mean, way back when.
No, up until a short time ago, up until probably a year or two ago, he had the city vehicle.
But anyways, I asked the mayor back when I was council president in 2010. You guys were enterprise funds. You're still the enterprise funds. You have a surplus.
And nobody can get a final. When I was a superintendent, I could never get an answer off of Condon on how much money was in the enterprise account.
No, you can't.
But you can't.
He just works circles.
Right.
So why don't you get rid of him?
We don't hire as councils, we don't fire. It's the executive, which is the mayor. She hires the.
Well, that's why she needs to go. She stinks.
I asked her back in 2010 to do away with all the enterprise funds and level fund all departments, because they have a surplus. You have the water and sewer department, part of the golf course, are on an enterprise fund. We can't cut their budget as councilors. When we get their budget, we cannot touch their enterprise funds. I asked her to do away, which we can do away.
Right.
The council, she has to push it forward, but we can do away with enterprise funds. You have the DPW up on the third floor on one side of that building that are eating caviar when it comes to budget time. You have the planning department, the building department are having bread and water and praying that they don't get laid off. The other side don't care, and they keep on buying all these new vehicles, all kinds of new things, because they can't be touched right now. Because they won't do away with the enterprise funds. There's surplus over there, I agree. That's what I would love to do, but we can't do that right now.
But you know they're playing with that money on the enterprise account.
Well, the city can't.
You can never get a balance, Tommy, on that account.
Yeah, but we can't, that's right, we can't even get any.
Because Condon's taking it from Paul and Peter and giving it to Paul.
No, we can't take, the city side can't take any money out of the enterprise.
Rid of the pump. If you look at the law, chapter 4, it says in the state law, that if there is a surplus in the water department, it's supposed to go back into the general fund.
No,
That's the law, I gave you that law.
It says it
I
has to
gave you
go
that.
to capital improvements.
There's money left over.
Yeah, like
After
water
capital
meters.
improvements,
Water
after the
meters
bills
that
have been
didn't get
paid,
done.
that money should go back. I gave you the law, did you read it?
Yes.
Doesn't it say that if there's
Enterprise fund, it has to have any surplus goes to Jack and
An enterprise account.
So why didn't we spend a $5 million surplus to replace the water meters?
Yeah.
We borrowed $11 million and took the $5 million, bigger than $5 million. It didn't go, Tommy, it went on Wall Street to earn interest for Condon bonding.
We approved the $11 million when they approached us with
That's
water.
right, that's
We
right.
approved it. Then they came back to us.
Yes.
And Condon said, the water meters only cost $7.
Right.
So we have $4 million extra. So we want to do all these special projects. But in the next breath, he said, if we do these special projects, the water department will be in a red by $1.5 million. So I voted against it because I said, it doesn't make any sense at all. Don't do the special projects. Keep the $4 million in here. But it
But
didn't
what happened
pass.
to the $5 million that was a surplus in 2009, 2010, the last year that Steve
what?
Pike was on the Water Commission? There was $5 million extra collected because he went up 60% on our rates, and he had a surplus in the enterprise accounts. Why didn't they fix the water meters at that point with that $5 million?
Because they were ignoring what they saw. They just
But the question still begs the question. We had opportunity to borrow $11 million from the state revolving fund. Where did the $5 go? We borrowed,
That's paying
but
off.
we had a
Supposedly, what he
surplus.
said, the Condon said, it's paying off the bonds.
This-
Me and Tommy had a discussion, let's put it on and say, put it on Wall Street because he can make more money on the spread.
Ask Thorson.
Okay, listen, let's go one more question around and then we're gonna go, and then we're gonna end it. One, any more residents, please?
Okay, why can't we demand that the city establish a budget without raising any kind of a real estate tax?
Good question, that's what I was.
If they oversupply their departments and they run a shortage, then let them pay for it.
Yep.
But someone should put a cap, and that's it. Let them reach.
I think by you people being engaged and this start, if we can keep this movement going, by you asking these questions, because he's been going unchecked. The city's chief financial officer has done whatever he's wanted, has gone unchecked on $100,000.
So why don't they get rid of them?
Millions and
Seems like all the problems that we have revolve around Condon.
Oh, it is.
So why don't they get rid of Condon and find a new CFO? Why?
Why don't they
The
have
mayor,
somebody
the
in
mayor
there?
can't comment on that. Her lawyers told her not to comment on
She doesn't comment on anything. She doesn't
Go
do
two
anything.
more, and then I'm gonna go in the, then we're gonna break it up. Go ahead. Go ahead, and then you.
1.6%, that's all, they have to cut. Does this, I'm not a rocket science, does this city have ever hire out, like, and get a third party to come in? You know how the electric company will come in and say, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this to save money? I drive by schools at night, 11 o'clock, they're lit up like Christmas trees. We need to get a third party, someone like a Mitt Romney business genius to come in and say, cut here, cut there, cut there.
You're 100% right.
Yeah,
right.
Hire out for someone to come in and just make cuts, not in the city.
Well, the city is doing pretty good. It's got $120 million of cash in the bank. It's got a net worth
Yeah, but
of,
they
you're
might
a
be doing
resident.
good, but
Let me
we're
just
not.
break this down. They got $120 million of cash in the bank. They got a net worth of $250 million. If you own stock in that company, you would be doing pretty good right now, but because you're a resident, you're not. And it has, we gave you a snapshot of the financial statement. It's got $23 or $24 million of free cash. So they don't need to go up on your taxes.
No, they don't.
He doesn't need to go up on your taxes. And you know what? You residents need a break. So let's go with the next one, and one more, and then we gotta go, then we're gonna break it.
Just a quick word. We need to form a plan, execute it, identify the councilors who will not cooperate, and start getting rid of them one by one.
Exactly.
But I think all fairness to the two councilors tonight, because we're beating them up a little bit, they came here.
That's right.
We gotta give them credit. And they're not here. So you gotta give them credit, they're meeting with you people. So I know, I don't want them to walk away with the wrong impression. These are our hope to the city, that there could be a change with these new councilors.
One other thing too, the councilors are only part-time, I believe they're good people, we know them. A lot of times they don't have the time, they're misguided by the CFO who's full-time, and where's the
Well,
mayor
get rid
on
of
these
him.
comments?
Get
She's
rid
got
of
three years
him.
to understand nothing.
What about, how would you feel if you were one of the people that had an escalated water bill and you were treated by the DPW commissioner the way you were? And he's up for a reappointment. You gonna put him back in again?
Yep.
No.
They will.
I don't think they've ever turned down.
Yeah, well, I know. Who's gonna reappoint him?
Acquaintance told me a few days ago, she says to me, oh, don't you know about that
Now you know what I'm
program?
thinking.
If you can prove that you're low income, you can get a lower property tax rate. Is there such a program?
I got a question for you. Seniors get, why'd you have a meeting on a Friday night? Why would you have it on a Monday? Why would you put it on a holiday? More people would show up, get license. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
we
shitty day to pick
will, but
it.
we're learning, you know what I mean? So the things are moving fast and we're learning.
Show up on a Friday night.
The city has so many, right, you're 100% right. And so
Hey,
next
Ed.
time we're gonna learn from this.
Some kind of program over here.
Hey, Ed.
Yeah, we're learning, we'll get a bigger place next time. And I hope the council member can go back to the mayor's office and talk about how many people showed up. Go ahead.
The lady's question wasn't
The lady asked you a question, wait on
Hear what he just said? He just said he
They don't show up.
The lady in the red asked a question and somebody asked a question on top of her. Somebody answer her question.
Where are you?
Stand up and ask the question again, man.
The assessor's office, if you're a senior,
You can't have a lot of
if you're a senior citizen and you can.
Low income, yeah. Go to the assessor's office in a break. It's not even. Yeah.
I just heard about
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, we gotta get back to you people on when we need you to show up at the council like you showed up tonight. So thank you very, very much. And what, go ahead.
I asked, an outside law firm to look at some creative project. Why has it taken a year? I said this when I ran for mayor. I asked for an outside law firm, the enterprise, had two law professors look at that. And one of them said that it's ambiguous, and the other one, and he also said that I can see where the people who are challenges are coming from, and I can see why. Why is it taking a year?
They had their own lawyers look at it, and I guess they figured out that they couldn't do anything, but now everything keeps coming up, so that's why we said, hey, let's just get that done and get it done. I mean, do it and get it over with, that way there, you covered all your
You know,
bases.
Mr. Matt, I can answer that for you. I think Mr. Monahan, in all fairness, heard your cry, and he's the one that asked to be it done. So if it wasn't for Mr. Monahan, we wouldn't be having somebody looking at it. Okay, so, listen, this is a letter that we'd like to send to the mayor's office. Feel free to take one on the way out. And then the other thing is, I'm gonna go set up the camera in the other room, and then feel free to come in if you wanna give a 15 or 20 second or 30 second message to the mayor. We're gonna package it up and send it to the mayor's office. Okay? Thank you very, very much. And hopefully, it's the beginning of a journey that we can help turn around the city. Thank you. So, and we can, anybody wants to go in the front, then we'll be in the front office.
How are you? I'm Sandy. I know I've met you as, unfortunately, you're around and stuff. Hi, honey. How are you? How's everything going?
I still out of my condo.
I know. That's horrible.
Well, actually, I'm gonna hang around, so I was just gonna take
Yeah, well, mine, are they